What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the new 2025 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. This one is the Premium Plus finished in polymetal gray metallic. MSRP is $42,000. So let's get right into this eco-friendly crossover. Underneath the hood of the 2025 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid, you're going to find a 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder hybrid motor. Net horsepower is 216. Overall torque is 163 for the engine. Has an eCVT for the transmission and E all-wheel drive. Overall curb weight is around 4,000 pounds. It runs on a 14.5 gallon fuel tank, and you're looking at 39 miles per gallon in the city with 37 out on the highway and max towing capacity at 1,500 pounds. The overall length is 186.1 inches with a wheelbase at 110.8. Width is 72.9 and height is 65.6 inches. Ground clearance is also 7.8 inches. Taking a look at the exterior styling with Mazda CX-50 Hybrid, has a pretty sporty look, definitely a nice angry looking face to it with some cool aggression. We have a nice set of LED headlights. You can see the beams along with those daytime running lights, some gloss gray trim throughout this upper grille, and you can see more of the trim throughout it. Got the Mazda badge as well. Nice opening for that grille, definitely gives it an aggressive appearance. You have LED lights down below. A little bit of trim on the farthest sides with active areas for air to flow through. And you can see the sharp trim throughout the bumper. We have some plastic trim down below with more openings, safety sensor, and overall a pretty cool design for the front of this Mazda CX-50. Very sporty looking for sure. Sharp body lines throughout the hood, fading into that windshield. So overall it comes together pretty nicely. At the side profile, the plastic from the front bumper does fade into these front fender flares, giving it a nice design. You're also going to get a cool set of 19-inch wheels. They have a split spoke design with a two-tone color. Some nice contours throughout the front fender, hybrid logo as well. Then you can see the gloss black for the mirror caps with the power folding function. We have body color door handles, more of that plastic trim for the entire lower side skirt, and then body color up towards the roof. This one even gets a full panoramic sunroof with a shark fin antenna, silver color for the roof rails, and then just a little bit of silver behind the glass, all blacked out trim for the glass surround. And then for the side profile, it has a really cool proportion. You can see how sporty and compact it looks with nice, sharp, bold lines all throughout it. Rear fender arch is pretty wide as well, giving it a cool, unique style. And then we have a nice set of round LED taillights that match the headlights. Got some black trim throughout this rear glass piece, and then smooth body lines for the whole rear bumper, fading into the plastic portion just finished off in the black plastic. We have a dual exhaust system, your two different reflectors on each of the sides, Mazda logo right in the center with all of your badging. It comes together nicely for a compact crossover. Taking a look at the key fob, it's finished off in black with the Mazda badge. You got all your buttons on the side. You can lock and unlock it very simply. And of course, we also have the remote access when you just grab the door handle. Interior of this one has a really cool red leather interior, which has a really cool look to it. Looking at the door panel finished off primarily in black, you're gonna have this soft touch plastic. There's nice vinyl material with the cross stitching in red. All your controls down below with a grab handle and then nice red on this padded armrest. Storage down below, power controls on the side of the seat, and then I like the red along with the black accents. We have more of that cool stitching to it, perforations throughout the center, smooth on the sides, making our way all up towards the headrest. So definitely a cool looking set of seats. Got a nice black leather wrapped steering wheel with some silver trim and your Mazda badge. And then now inside the 2025 Mazda CX-50, keep my foot on the brake, and go ahead and fire it up. Being a hybrid, you're not always going to hear the engine fire up, but taking a look at the steering wheel on the left side, you're going to see controls for some Bluetooth and audio. You have all these silver toggles as well. You have cruise control setting on the right side with your distance pacing. Engine actually just fired up. On the right stock, you're going to get all the windshield wiper controls, turn signal and headlights over on that left stock. And then for the gauge cluster itself, we have the digital readout for the charge and power on the left side, infotainment in the center that you're able to scroll through a little bit. You can toggle this, see some more information like that. So pretty nice overall, very simple with just a little bit of information in that center. And then down below we have our safety sensors, gas fill up, traction control, memory seating as well, and one of your air vents. You're gonna get a little bit of this soft touch material, heads up display, the multimedia screen right in the center, and then more of the air vents on the far side with this cool leather trim and stitching across the whole center. So very simple overall for the interior. Now the screen itself is not going to be touchscreen. It'll only be touchscreen when you add the Apple CarPlay, but you're gonna have this control panel down here with a few different shortcuts all around it. So if I go ahead and hit the back button, we can back out of there, and then the home icon, we can move to here. So you can go into navigation. Of course, you're going to have settings you can enter, see all sorts of different items within the car. Overall, it's a pretty simple screen. Not my favorite, given it's super basic overall. And then if we go ahead and put it into reverse, you're gonna get your backup camera popping up, which again is pretty small for the size of the screen. It is very HD though. And then back into park. Underneath all that, you're gonna get your physical climate controls very simply laid out. Fan speed right here on these toggles, different zones, dual zone temperature as well. And then we have heated and ventilated seating. You're gonna get a plug down below that, and then a little bit of storage with your 2 cup holders. For the shifter, we have a nice leather shift boot. We have an EV icon as well that you can use depending on the battery charge. Right now, we are right back into EV mode since we have enough juice. We have our drive modes as well. You can toggle this up and down. We have a trail mode, normal, as well as power. So pretty cool display you're gonna see. Park and brake hold, and then the rotary dial along with the volume. You can also see the nice red accent color for this interior, and we have 2 different buttons you can press to open this up. We have quite a lot of storage in here, wireless phone charging as well, and I like how you can independently open this. For the glove box over here, if we open that up, you're gonna get a nice amount of space in here as expected. And then one last look at the interior. Again, it's a sporty looking interior, however, very simple, minimalistic. Nothing all too new about the interior of this, but if you just want a car that will get the job done, this is pretty nice looking for the simple technology. You have your frameless mirror with garage door buttons, and then we have a spot for sunglass holders up here, and then all the different controls for the glass as well, with a nice look at the roof. Taking a look at the rear seat space, if I just grab the door handle and open it up, the door panel is gonna be finished off very similar to the front. You got a little bit harder plastics back here, but you have the same nice red accent. And then the back seats have the same cool red color with all the black contrast. This can seat 3 people. You have this center cushion you can pop down for the armrest along with different cup holders. And then there are gonna be air vents back here. You can see plugs down below and then storage behind the passenger seat. You're also able to push this tab and pull these down, and they'll fold nice and flat for better storage and cargo space to the back. So hopping into the back seat with the Mazda CX-50. So this is a smaller compact crossover. I'm 5'11". My head barely touches the ceiling. So I have decent enough headroom. My knees at my height with the driver's seat, they are touching the seat. My feet are fitting nicely though. This seat itself isn't too bad. It's got a decent recline to it. Again, this isn't a jumbo SUV. It's a very small crossover, a compact vehicle. It is roomy enough though. You can definitely fit 2 full-grown adults in the back. 3 people wouldn't be too bad, maybe small kids or something. So for a smaller car, I mean, it's usable. The seats are comfortable enough for what you're gonna need, and they have good enough amenities for the price point. Moving on to the cargo space, you're just gonna tap the button underneath the badge. It's gonna automatically open up the whole liftgate, and we can take a look at the cargo space. Pretty large in here behind that second row, very flat load floor. You got a little cubby on that left side as well as the right side. And you can see a few little points for accessories with a light. I do like that you have these latches that we can easily fold down the seats, get them out of the way. So that is a really good touch to make this ultra practical. Pulling this one, so sometimes you will of course have to slide the seats forward given this is a compact. But nonetheless, this is actually a lot of space for a compact car. We have our buttons up here. We can just go ahead and press that. And then taking one last look with everything folded down and pushing this one down. It really does maximize the space. So honestly, the CX-50, good enough for some extra people and has plenty of space for extra cargo. All right, so setting off now in the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. So EV mode basically lets you drive in parking lot speeds, just slow speed, electric only, which is nice to maybe back out of your garage or something like that. For the drive modes, if we pump it up to power, of course, that'll give you the most performance out of this. However, it's no performance car. Pedal to the floor. Obviously, it's not exactly fast, and you definitely can tell it has a CVT transmission. It's just a, you know, it kind of is what it is for acceleration. So with that said, this is a commuter car, a point A to point B kind of car that has a sporty touch inside and out. And when we're driving in it, you know, you do have a really good view around. You can tell it's a compact crossover, given how close everything is to you. The front of the car is like right there, and the back is right there. So you can tell the proportions of this car are very compact, which does make it very easy to place, very easy to park, and just a non-intimidating crossover to get into that does have some pretty good room. One thing I do notice as a driver at 5'11", everything around me is so close to me, like these are right in good reach, and all of this stuff is just so close. I'm not really used to that. This does feel a little small for me, quite honestly. So I think if you are pushing 6 feet tall or anything bigger than that, you know, this is gonna be a small car for you. So this is probably for the smaller person, not anyone who's big or tall. This is not the car for you. Even me, I feel a little big for this car. So if you're looking for something small, this is definitely a way to go. You do have a good view around. The mirrors are very close to you, so it does give you a good view. I love the panoramic sunroof too. That's a nice touch. And then for the overall drive, one thing I've noticed, it's not as refined as you might think, given it looks really cool inside. The suspension is a little stiff and the seats are a little stiff as well. They look great, but really not all that much plush padding. It handles well when you're taking the turns. There's not really much body roll or anything like that, but you can feel the bumps. The seats, again, you know, you can feel bumps through the seats as well. So it does have a little bit firmer ride comparing it to some others where you might sink into the cushiony seat more. So I'm just noticing that as well. And then the electronic power steering is a little interesting. There is somewhat of a rubber band feeling to it when you're steering. You can almost feel resistance in variable weights as you steer it. Your typical person probably won't notice it, but if you're used to any performance cars or high-end cars, you might notice it just feels a little artificial when you're steering it. But again, this is more of a generic car, easy car to drive, so buyers probably don't really notice that. Now with this screen, again, it's not touchscreen, which it would be a really hard reach to actually do that. And this control panel, a lot of Mazda owners seem to like it. It is very simple, very basic. There's really nothing fancy about the multimedia or climate functions or anything like that. It's a really simple, kind of a older school feeling interior, which a lot of people like. Nowadays, everything is in a screen. You have 20 inches of screens all the time. And to be honest, a lot of people just don't like that. So I feel like Mazda is giving you an interior that does look pretty cool, but it's also incredibly basic and simple. Even the gauge cluster and everything right there, while it's got some digital aspects to it, it is ultra simple too. So it's an easy car to get used to. It has everything you're going to need, and overall does ride pretty good. Build quality feels pretty tight as well. Hopefully we can pass this little moving shed once this other truck gets out of the way, but we'll feel out the build quality hitting the train tracks. But there is decent legroom in here, but like I said, I think I'm about at the max. But let's hit these train tracks just a little bit. Yeah, you definitely feel them, and that was going pretty slow. And then the power delivery, I'm not the biggest fan of, just because it just kind of whines. It's not really a refined riding and driving vehicle. I'd say this is more on the basic transportation of a car. It's gonna get really good gas mileage. It does have the storage space you're gonna need for any typical crossover. So it has a lot going for it at the price point, just not anything refined or ultra luxurious about it. All right, so my honest thoughts now with the 2025 CX-50 Hybrid. I feel like it's a well-sized crossover. Not everybody likes something ginormous. This is so easy to drive, easy to park, easy to see around. I can see a lot of people just liking that aspect with the CX-50. It does what it needs to do, and it's not a hard car to park. Now, hitting these train tracks, once again, you definitely feel it. Now, I think that's one thing Mazda could work on. A lot of their new cars are really cool looking. They have a lot of sporty exteriors, stylish interiors, nice use of materials. However, I don't think their ride quality matches the style. They look luxurious and super cool, but they don't really ride that luxurious. Like I said, the seats and the suspension are kind of stiff in this, to where it doesn't have a plush feeling to it at all. So I think Mazda maybe could work on that and give these cars a bit more luxury feeling, given they do look really good inside and out. I think Mazda's probably making these most stylish cars out there for the price point. If you look at them, they just look really good, no matter if you buy a cheap one or an expensive one. So this one, I'd say, is more on the lower price point, given this is fully loaded around 42 grand. So you can get a CX-50 Hybrid for a little bit less if you go with the more basic trim level. And I feel like it is very well appointed. You are going to get the tech you need, the multimedia stuff that you're going to need. Again, there's nothing really fancy about them, but it makes it easy. And a lot of people just don't like the fanciest looking, fanciest to use items, because it just makes it a little annoying to do. This is simple, climate's easy. The screen, once you get used to the dial, is pretty easy as well. And then for the driving experience, it is a pretty quiet ride though. You don't really hear any of the wind noise, the road noise, things like that. So they've done a decent job with sound insulation. I'm on a smooth road, it's super windy out right now, and you really don't hear anything. So it is going to be a good car that's going to be great for the day-to-day driving. I've been averaging about 34 mpg, and that's with me flooring it a little bit. And it seems like it'll do the job to be a good daily driver, and there is plenty of space in this car to make it very useful for people as well as the cargo. And then back for the drive modes and acceleration. Again, I'm not the biggest fan. I think if you want more power, get a Mazda that has a turbo. Anything from them with a turbo is going to be very powerful feeling, and they do a great job. So this car is just not that level. It's not going to give you that performance, that acceleration to get you up on the highway that crazy. Full throttle right now, 55. So it is not fast at all, and it definitely shows its transmission just kind of, yeah. So I'm not the biggest fan of that aspect to it. This is not something I would say for the younger buyer who's going to drive even the slightest spirited. I could see this being a good older demographic vehicle that you're just going to be kind of just driving around town here and there, maybe picking up a friend or an extra friend in the back. So this is probably a really good like single person's car who's probably a little bit older, a little bit smaller body, to where this would be an SUV for you. This is a compact SUV for anyone with a family, anyone taller. But if you're just a maybe smaller, older person, I think this is probably the demographic for that buyer. And I can see it being really good. It is simple to use, which is gonna do well for the older demographics buying these cars. And it gives you the feeling of an SUV without actually being that big if you are maybe smaller or older. But there's a look at the 2025 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you all in the next video.